James Luxon for Pro Boxing Fans. Delighted to be joined on Zoom again with Joe Gallagher. Joe, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Enjoying the sunshine while we can.
Absolutely, yeah. Lovely day today down here as well. Looks like you've got the sun over there also. Let's go back a few weeks. Tasha Jonas, Terry Harper. First of all, talk about the performance of Tasha Jonas. How proud are you?
Yeah, I was proud of her in the way that she carried out the game plan that we'd worked on. I was super proud of her in training camp. She really pushed herself. I took her to some really uncomfortable points and moments in training that I knew she'd have to come through in the fight, and she did do. And then to carry out and execute the game plan.
Just there we go.
Sorry, it's calls ringing. Then to carry out and execute the game plan. It was brilliant. Obviously, I thought she won the first 2 rounds just because she got a cut, didn't really that she lost the round. And I thought, like everyone else did, she won it 6 rounds to 4 on the night. I was just gobsmacked when we didn't get it, because after seeing her put so much into training camp, coming with her daughter to the gym, having to do a training and be a mum at the same time, then bringing the child's food with her, staying up, then doing a track work and bringing her daughter with her there. And I just thought, wow, her dedication and how much she's put into this. And there's always a saying, if you put it in, you get it out. And I really thought Natasha put it in at training camp, put it in another fight of the night, and we would have been rewarded with the decision. But unfortunately, we weren't. It was a draw. Afterwards, then, when we got out, everyone said, oh, straight away, we'll do a rematch. And Eddie said, we'll do a rematch straight away. We'll do Terry, Tasha, that'll be either in Liverpool, or we'll do it in Doncaster or Sheffield, and that needs its own bill. And great. And but it hasn't happened. And the WBC have made Terry Harper have a mandatory. Now, we all know how that works. We're not silly. I'm sure her mandatory, Katharina Thanderez, as we've seen with the WBC, when there's unfinished business with Tyson Fury and that were Wilder, they can easily have stepped aside that and said, hang on, this is unfinished business here, and called for that fight, but they haven't. And Natasha's back in the gym training and looking to get out. I know she said in an interview of the week, Jessica McCaskill, but that's gone now. She's interested in the Katie Taylor fight. She's just interested in the fight. It's a big fight. She's disappointed the Terry Harper fight hasn't happened. I think someone mentioned that Heather Hardy to her, but she's suspended at the moment for drug testing or whatever her situation is. So I don't think that'd be a good fight for Natasha to go straight back into. So yeah, she wants a big fight, and that's it. She's in training for it.
Well, you say she wants a big fight, and you mentioned there already, Harper, Thanderez, McCallum Myers got her. She's mandatory for Brovnica. McCaskill, Brackhouse rematch. Chantel Cameron sounds like she's been offered to Melissa St. Ville. So Katie Taylor really is the only option out there for her. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, it is. I think it is. I think it's a great fight. I don't know, I'm hearing whispers that she has to deal with a mandatory, like another one of a mandatory. I think the WBA mandatory. But I think myself, like we see boxing and it goes on, if there's a bigger fight to be had, they can say to the WBA mandatory challenger, listen, you'll get your shot after this fight, but we've got to do this fight first. There's a little bit of money to keep you happy, and we'll guarantee you after this fight it'll happen. And I think Natasha Jonas, Katie Taylor is a huge fight. It's a rerun of the 2012 Olympics. And yeah, I'll agree with everyone that most will be comments about the proposed fight, or Katie Taylor will beat Natasha and all that. Yeah, and they all said Terry Harper would do the same thing. Listen, they can't write Natasha off. And after her last performance now, her confidence is high. Katie Taylor's had a good few hard fights. And it'd be interesting to see that fight again, not just me because I'm involved with Tasha, but just as a fan as well, as a boxing fan, to see 8 years on. It was a good event in the 2012 Olympics, and I think that's a good fight to do. And if Katie has got a mandatory, I'm sure Eddie and Brian Peters could easily just say, listen, I know we've got the mandatory, but just take this. We see it going on with the political jigsaw in the heavyweight division with mandatories and everything going on, and that's what I'm saying with the Terry Harper Thanderez. I feel that could have happened, and I think this could happen as well.
Absolutely. I just want to take you back, obviously, a little bit to the draw itself. You felt you won the fight. How did yourself and Tasha as a team feel after the fight? Feel a bit
Well,
Ejectable.
and initially I was gutted. Tasha was gutted. You could see her reaction in the ring, but we still in the changing rooms felt like we won the fight, and you can see the tail of the changing rooms. We were happy, we were upbeat, we knew we won. Everyone was telling us we won. Social media, boxing news, boxing experts all saying won. You go into their changing room, and that's crestfallen. You see their body language in the ring. They look like they'd be. You see in the match room behind the scenes of fight camp, Terry Harper walking in and lying down on the floor, and they're all crestfallen. And Steffi trying to get up, and Dave Caldwell going in there, telling him, "Come on, keep your chin up," and all that. That was a losers' changing room, but they just managed to, however, get away with it with a draw. And like you say, that you could just look at the two change rooms. We won, and we thought we won, and we are. I think a week, 2 weeks later, we were still the same. I think then when it dawns on that Harper is going on fighting with the belt and we haven't, that's where it sunk in, because Tasha needed that win to carry on for the big fights, for make her and her daughter a little bit more financial secure. She's out there trying to earn a living to provide for a family, and for her to get the paydays that she requires. She needed that world title fight, because women's boxing isn't paying the best at the moment, and it's great that they're getting well. And I've seen Clarissa Shields posting about it, I've seen Heather Hardy about it. I have to agree, it's like, I know what some of them are earning, but from what the others are earning, it's just like, nah, their pay needs to be seriously looked at. It's needs to be done better anyway, paid more.
Absolutely. Moving on, mentioned big fights. Callum Smith still chasing that big fight. Obviously, Canelo, he's got his own situation going on at the moment. Billy Joe Saunders sort of mentioned Callum's name. What's going on with Callum at the moment?
Well, not like anything. We're all seeing what happens with the Canelo situation. We know there's a purse bid, I think, next week for Canelo and Yildirim. It'd be interesting to see if that goes ahead or what happens with that. The way we were saying it to Callum Smith was like, well, imagine if you left and had suing Sky, and then you said, in the meantime, I'm off fighting on Frank Warren BT's show. I'm sure Sky or whoever would put some type of injunction on you till this was resolved. And I think the zone would most probably try and do something like that. But that changes every day. You know as much as I do. You wake up and then Oscar's got an opinion, and the next thing it's been thrown out of court, and we don't know. But like you say, we'll look and see what happens with that Canelo Yildirim. If Canelo is tied up, Callum Smith will be looking at fighting Yildirim for the WBC title. If it doesn't and that fight goes ahead, I think Callum Smith is looking at most probably Caleb Plant for the IBF. That's a fight that he fancies as well. Reason being, because it's in America, there's a money for him in that fight in America. There's profile in it, and it's a unification fight. I've seen Billy Joe talking about it, but and I know it's the money. There's 3 pay-per-views this year, and they're all heavyweights. Usyk, Dylan White and Joshua. Some can argue that they're not all pay-per-view events. I'd say Dylan White Povetkin's not a pay-per-view event. Some will most argue Chisora and Usyk isn't a pay-per-view event. So for Callum Johnson, Smith and Billy Joe Saunders to fight, it'd have to be a pay-per-view, but it's a hard sell. Both kids aren't the biggest ticket sellers. Both kids haven't got the biggest profile. But the money that they'd want for fighting each other is what it stands for. You've got 2 fighters and big unification fights. So whether it be Kawasaki v. Froch or Ben v. Eubank 2 or Tyson Fury and Joshua, this is a huge domestic showdown. I mean, Khan Callabrook and the one paying well. So just because the profiles are less doesn't mean they shouldn't warrant paying less. And if everyone's that confident on it being a pay-per-view success or selling, well, give the fighters the guarantee and you go and sell the show. But they won't do that. And Callum Smith, I'm sure Billy Joe, ain't got to go into a fight wondering how much money they've got to earn, because they don't know until the pay-per-view numbers after the event who wants to take that risk. And when it's just a case both of them can just sit tight, the boxing and the crowds will start coming back. Billy Joe, I think he's got his mandatory Zach Parker. That's a good UK-British fight for him. Caleb Plant there for Callum Smith. And like I said, that fight can be made down the road. Do you know what I mean? When there is a crowd next year, do you know what I mean? So I think that's the fight. You wouldn't see, they wouldn't be talking about Kell Brook, Amir Khan behind closed doors, or Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. So why should they do Callum Smith, Billy Joe?
Just to oppose that, obviously they've put on Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, that was behind closed doors. Why can't these big fights be made behind closed doors? Is it just it's purely financial?
Yeah, I think, well, like anything, it's like anyone that goes out to work. You've climbed Mount Everest. You've got to the point where you get to become a world champion. You've always been you've always dreamt. You've always been told you become a world champion. You make your money. That's where the money is. You get there, and then everyone's saying, "Oh, we can't pay this. We can't pay that." Fair play to Lomachenko, the people behind him, Bob Arum, the TV networks, to put up the money. They took a gamble, and it's going. I don't even think it's a pay-per-view event, but they know that the audience they'll get being on normal television, the crowds that it'll generate and everything else, that they're speculating to accumulate that this will be a huge fight, it'll go down well. But Lomachenko and Lopez are getting paid well for the fight. I mean, but they've put up the money and said, go ahead, and there you go with it. So, like you say, you see Frank there, he's delaying Joyce and Dubois for the crowds, and like you say, Billy Joe's a good talker and he can sell a fight. But you've got Callum Smith, who isn't a trash talking, who's just a nice, quiet kid. So that's a hard sell on pay-per-view, and unless they've got to go on Anthony Joshua's thing, but I'm sure Anthony Joshua isn't got to give them his money off his pay-per-view, is it? So that's it. Like you say, it seems easy to make, but like you say, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, that was due to be made for years, and it never did. Do you know what I mean? Fighters have got to the top and they want paying well, the top of the game, and that's it. Anthony Joshua isn't got to take a pay cut, as neither is Canelo, and neither is the top premium fighters to have these fights. They'll sit and wait, and that's it. And if the networks want their fights, then they'll have to pay.
So it's fair to say Callum's only looking at unification bouts currently.
Yeah, no, listen, Callum would love the Callum Plant fight. We'll see what happens with Canelo Yildirim. Yeah, but that's a fight he spoke about. And light heavyweights isn't not to be ruled out neither as well. But there is fights there. But like you say, like anything, no one's got to go to work not wondering how much they've got to get paid. So you're speculating on a fight like Billy Joe and Chris Eubank Jr. That sells. That's a pay-per-view. You take a gamble on that pay-per-view because you know it sells. Chris Eubank Jr. can talk the port. Billy Joe can. That sells. So you take them. There's them type of fights that will sell. Do you understand? Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. That's pay-per-view. That sells. It sells. It sells on the hype and the build-up as much as the fight. Very much like Billy Joe and Eubank. You understand? So not all fights are pay-per-view events. And to try and sell one as a pay-per-view event and rely on them numbers, taking a huge risk. And they're at a stage now, Callum and Billy Joe, just like Triple G and Canelo is. They want guarantees. Canelo wants a guarantee. Canelo wants a guarantee. And Billy Joe and Callum Smith do. The world champions, they want a guarantee. They're not going out to work wondering and praying and hoping that people tune in to pay the wage.
Absolutely. Let's go forward to a fight that has been announced and is come up next week. Jose Burton and Rikopolotniks in the Golden Contract out in Latvia, Riga. How's preparation gone for Burton, first of all?
Yeah, no, very good. He's training. He'd been in the gym sparring with Chad Sugden ahead of his fight with Pitters. He's in great shape. He's had good sparring. And it's a very difficult fight. Richard Polotniks, I think the way the draw was done has given us more time to intensely study him more. And when you look at him when he fought as a cruiserweight, because a lot of his career has been at cruiserweight, a couple of cruiserweights that he lost to, Mickey Nelson and an African kid, they were both fighters. Mickey Nelson obviously went and fought Dominic Ingalls at Ngube, European kid, pushed him close. The other kid that he lost to went on and fought Eddie Chambers, went and fought Usyk, got stopped by Usyk 8-9 rounds. So Polotniks hasn't lost to no mugs, he's lost to quality kids. When he's come back down to light heavyweight, he's had plenty of knockouts, and stylistically wise, your Jose Burton, Stephen Wars, tall, upright, he's had great success with. It's bread and butter for him. So it's in Riga for him. He'd be usually pumped. He's the home fighter. He's got home advantage. And Jose Burton's going into the lines then. And this is the final. We talked about Jose and Bob Adjusaf. Let's say two experienced fighters. I don't know if he came through this. Now the big puncher, the wild card, we're going to have to take him on in his own back garden. I think the winner of this fight will win the tournament.
You sort of already identified there the threat that he does pose. A lot of people almost writing him off. You know, obviously Jose will probably go in as the favourite on paper. He's probably favourite for the tournament overall still as well. But as you mentioned, he is a dangerous opponent for him. You mentioned his losses all to good opponents. He's lost 5 times, been stopped 3 times. Has Jose got the power to stop him?
I think Jose Burton, I think you go through his resume, Jose, when he's fought at light, heavyweight, cruiserweight, he's knocked kids out. When they've tried to rush him, he's knocked them out. He can punch. Everyone that comes to our gym and tells you spars Jose Burton will tell you that he punches. He's knocked plenty of kids out in the gym. In my opinion, I've said it for a long time, he's the biggest puncher in my gymnasium. And that's a big thing to say when you think you've got lots of Callum Johnson, Callum Smith in the gymnasium. But Jose Burton has always held his own in all the spars and sparring and the big kids as well. So I do feel he does have the power to knock him out, but I don't think he will knock him out. I do think it's got to be a tough fight. Bolotnick is very good off his lead left hook and gets up close, throws good right hooks, right uppercuts. When he can box, which he can do at times, Bolotnick, he's good at counter punching. He'll step back, left hook, right hand you. I think this is a hard fight. I think Bolotnick has got to expect to tire Jose Burton down the straight and mostly try and get the late stoppage. But I think if the judges sat around it are scoring the fight and not intimidated by the crowd or swayed by them, I think Jose Burton wins at some points with a scorecard of 97-93, something like that.
Talk to me, any effects of going to Riga, obviously going away?
No, I think the biggest problem is trying to get tested over there at the moment. The British Boxing Board of Control are asking us to get tested on the Friday before we go. The trouble is I don't know if you've seen the news last night, but there is no walk-in driving testing facilities available at the moment now here in Manchester, Trafford here, in the Greater Manchester area. There's none whatsoever. So we can't get tested. There is none whatsoever. So I know the board want us to, but there's nowhere in the government guidelines it asks us to. There's nothing in the Latvian guidelines that asks us to. We can jump on a plane and fly, but the board want us to. But at this moment, it came out yesterday, and our local news, Michael from Granada, he experienced it as well. There is no drive-in, walk-in COVID testing centres open in Greater Manchester at the moment, whether in Tameside, whether in Trafford or anything else. So that's proving to be a huge issue at the moment. And if the board are going to be adamant that we have to have it, then it's like, I don't understand why we have to have it when we get the testing on Tuesday in Riga. That's the one that really matters the most. Do you understand? Ryan, whoever. So if there's no testing centres open for us to go and get tested, because there's no testing, how we got to do it? It's very hard.
Absolutely.
And then if they say, you go private, it's costing. Well, who's got to pay that?
Absolutely. Obviously, you've had Tasha Jonas behind closed doors. You mentioned there will be crowds there in Riga. In Latvia, they have still got their crowds. How much of an effect will that have on Jose and Bolotnick as well?
Yeah, I think Bolotnick will be brilliant. I think we've seen it there in the World Boxing Super Series when they had it over there. The crowd and the fans are absolutely passionate about the boxing, aren't they? And mixed martial arts. So this being a bit of live sport over there, they'll be out, will be packed. And like I said today, hopefully they'll be going to the Lions. Then it'll be very much like when, I'd say Bradley Skeet went to Spain. Was it Bradley Skeet or Frankie Gavin? One of them went to Spain, and they were saying just the ring walk alone, it was like, wow. And Jose Burton, he's got to keep his mind focused on the job and, like you say, keep a cool head in a red hot atmosphere in there. And like I said, Bolotnick, he's got to be, he won't tire in the fight. The crowd will push him on. Every type of shot you land, there'll be a scream, a roar, whether it landed or not. Jose Burton's punches that'll land won't register, no one will be true. So that's what I was saying before about the judges being influenced by the situation and the environment over there. But hopefully cleaner work and the punches, I think the WBO International, whatever belt he has, that he beat off Waters on the line. So I think that the officials are competent and score the fight correctly.
Are you looking forward to getting back out there and an atmosphere being around you?
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it. And I love them type of environments, going in as the underdog, the away fighter, and as I call it, doing a smash and grab. I I love it. And like I say, it'll be weird. It was weird in Eddie Hearn's back garden, listening to the sky drones flying above while the boxing was going on. So listen, and everyone having to listen to me and Steffi Bull talking shit. Yeah, no, it'd be good to get back in a crowd. Really looking forward to it.
Let's touch on the rest of your stable. I see a few people down there. First of all, Callum Johnson. What sort of weight class are we looking at him coming back at?
Yeah, no, Callum Johnson, he's been training well. His last time we fought out was a year, last February. We did try and get him on in the garden. He was due to fight for the European title in March. Eddie Hearns came to us and asked us if we wanted to fight in the garden, but Callum would have to take a pay cut. Callum Johnson declined. So that's where we are at the moment. But we spoke over the last 12, 18 months of Callum Johnson at doing 168. And that's a huge possibility, whether it be domestically. Callum Johnson gets in the mix with your Rocky Fieldings, your John Ryders, your Billy Joe Saunders. Definitely put him in the mix there. Or even on the world stage, do you know what I mean? Put him in against a Callum Plant or whoever. So, that's a real serious proposition at the moment, because none of the light heavyweights want to fight Callum Johnson. We asked for the rematch with BTBF, we haven't got that. We agreed the Bivol fight, we haven't got that. We agreed to fight Joe Smith Jr. That didn't end up coming up. So everyone agrees, but then it falls apart. They don't really fancy him. So I think the BTBF fight did him more harm than good, because no one wants to take that risk against him. But whatever weight division's opportunity it takes, whether it's 168 or 175, Callum will take it. But I put it out the weekend. The 168 division has been put on alert because Callum Johnson is going to possibly might fight his next fight at it.
You mentioned that he was meant to fight for the European title against Igor Mikhalkin. Is that now off the table? Is that no longer?
I've not heard nothing since. That was done in February, March. It was due to happen on the quick bill. Then it got pushed back to April, Newcastle. Then it got pushed back to May. Then it was offered to us for the Eddie Hearn's back garden. But I think Callum had to take like a 40% pay cut or something. And the kid wasn't doing that. So, which I don't blame him neither. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's after a bit of money. So, no, so that's it. So I think that's gone now. So whatever's happening. But I said to Eddie at the time, or the people or at Sky, will put Callum Johnson and Josh Boatse on at the garden, both in tick-over fights, because I know Josh Boatse hadn't fought since August, September last year, Callum February, and build it up that way. Similar to Billy Joe and Callum, do a double header show. Callum defending his belt, Billy Joe defending his belt, and work on that profile and building up, like they used to do with Ben, Eubank, Watson, all that stuff, do you know what I mean? And build it up. So, that's what I'd suggest, but we'll have to see. But like I say, Callum Johnson may go to 168 now.
I was going to mention the Boatse fight. Is that the one that will tempt him to stay at 175?
I don't think it tempts us, because Josh Boatse is behind us. We're what we've done with a choice. We gave up the British so we could fight. We went and fought BTBF. We come back, we beat Sean Monaghan. We're the proven fighter at world level. So Callum Johnson's still the number one light heavyweight in the country. He's still the man to beat. And if they want to make the Boatse fight, we've agreed to fight Josh Boatse a few times. When we were British champion, we said, no, we'll keep the belt and we'll fight Boatse. But we got asked, please, could you give it up and I'll get you this fight, and so Josh can fight for it. So we did. But we've always been wanting to fight Josh Boatse. But like you say, if they want to pay Callum Johnson the money to fight Josh Boatse, it will do. No problem.
Moving on, Marcus Morrison. I heard talks of him. He was apparently offered the Denzel Bentley fight for the IBF European. According to Denzel Bentley, he didn't go ahead on your side of things. Was that proposed to yourselves? Is that, when's he sort of next looking at getting out? Is that a fight?
Marcus. We were trying to do the Brian Rose fight at the time, which was a good fight for Marcus. We were offered the Felix Cash fight, but the fight Cash Wellborn fight was made, and then obviously we were trying to do the Brian Rose fight, which is a big fight up here between Brian Rose. It's a crossroads fight. Brian Rose to move on or retire. For Marcus, if he's got to push on, he's got to be like the Brian Rose. So that was it. They came on with the Denzel Bentley, but the money wasn't good enough. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's a furlough. I know it's behind doors and everything else, but it wasn't stupid money. It was just that it wasn't the right enough money. So. That was it. That's all basically. It just wasn't the right money for the fight. So there you go. If the right money was there, the fight was done. But the money wasn't there, so it wasn't. So that was it. And you've got to understand it. These kids that I fought, they've not fought. Well, Marcus hasn't fought now. Did he fight on my show in March? He fought on my show in January, Marcus. And that's a lot of 8 months mortgages that haven't been paid. So when they want to fight and work now, they want to try and make up for a bit of lost time and get some money because they don't know when they've got to fight again. Does that make sense? So that's all that was. But like I say, Marcus, we're still trying to do the Brian Rose fight. And we'll see what happens with that. I think that's a very good fight. While when you see like Heffron fight Bentley and Cullen's just fought Zach Chile and Thinger, so they're all in the mix. But I do think Brian Rose, Marcus Morrison fits into that type of fight. What they've just all had, and it being a northern rivalry as well. I think it'd be a good fight.
Absolutely. Liam Smith, Paul Butler, those two guys as well. What's any news on those two?
Yeah, well, Paul Butler, he's out on October the 17th. He's fighting on an MTK show. He's just done an advisory deal with them. So they've got him out there on that October the 17th. Paul fought 4 times last year, twice in the World Boxing Super Series as a reserve, once on my show and once on a Steve Wood show. So he's kept busy, he's kept relative. He's got a good world ranking. He was due to fight Kareem Garif for the European title. But we've... took this fight now and looking at a shot at a world title after this now. I know they've made McGregor now and Garif, and McGregor Butler's a good fight to be made down the line. Paul wins a world title and defend it against Liam Smith. He's in the gym. His training's always in the gym, training, sparring. We're just waiting. I feel sorry for Liam. Last year he had 3 good fights, 3 good wins, built up momentum, did Eggington, did Mexico, did America. And then they wheeled him out to try and get the Brook fight going, and that fell on deaf ears. And Liam's such a vastly underrated fighter here from this country. He's got huge profile in America and in Mexico. Everyone loves him, loves his style of fighting. And it's just a shame that we can't tie down a big fight for him, whether it be Jesse Vargas or any of the big names. And I've said to Liam, I said, well, why don't you just move up to middleweight and do UV Chris Eubank Jr. or put yourself in the mix at middleweight with the Charlos and just try and get a fight. Do you know what I mean? He's got a good ranking at a light middleweight, but that's what it might have to be in these times because boxing's very far and few in between and the clock's ticking and Liam Smith still has another world title in him to become a world champion and it would just be a shame. It amazes me how he's not talked about in the same way that I say, oh, when's Kell Brook fighting again? Everything else. It's like, forget about Liam Smith, world champion, class fighter, beating Canelo, acquitted himself very well against Canelo and Jamie Mungai. Do you know what I mean? Beat Liam Williams twice. Is the domestic number 1 at 154 and no one coming near to beating him. And it's like, why aren't we pushing? Why is no one push? Why is Sky, Eddie, whoever, not getting him them world title fights? And hopefully that'll happen now. Do you understand? He's got a good management team behind him. And hopefully they'll be pushing him now to get a big fight before the end of the year.
Absolutely. And very finally, you mentioned briefly your promotional outfit. Obviously, with the current pandemic and these situations going on, not a lot of small hall shows going on. When are you hoping to get your shows back on?
Yeah, no, I'm looking, I was talking, I see Clifton Mitchell did one at the weekend in Liverpool. I think I will do one before Christmas, where it'll just be a dinner event. It all depends on, you can plan and arrange, but then the government decide, or Boris wakes up, walks out and says something, it just throws everything in all chaos, doesn't it? But I'd like to do a show before the end of the year. There's a few fights that I'd like to make. I'm sure we'll do it on, I'm sure we'll do a YouTube facility, something like that. And I was got to do a few lockdown shows, like once every fortnight on a Wednesday afternoon, midday, just like 4 or 5 fights, and do that. But then when the logistics side of it with the bubble and the hotels and the testing and the costing to it all, it's bad enough losing money without fans. And I know there's a few sponsors out there that'll still sponsor and back it, but no one's wanting to just lose money. And a lot of companies, like I say, I think a lot of fighters will be lost from the game. I think a lot of sponsors will, because a lot of sponsors, their companies and their board of directors, they're having to furlough staff, make people redundant, and they can't be seen to be sponsoring athletes when they're talking about a recession and making redundancies. So it's a huge, difficult time for boxing, especially at grassroots level.
Absolutely. Well, we hope to see all your stable back out very soon. Hopefully you get your promotional outfit back on again as well very soon. But
yeah,
thanks for your time and speaking to pro boxing fans.
Cheers, no problem. Thank you. Cheers, thanks, mate.